without further ado, I just want to bring right out our guest here, Steve Cardenas. Hey!
This is very intimate. Okay, hello, everybody.
It's a real personal connection.
Yeah.
Steve, welcome to Undiscovered Realm.
Thank you.
Welcome to White Plains, New York. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Great. So, Steve, I'm just going to ask you a couple of quick questions, and then we're going to turn it over to some folks here in the audience if they want to know everybody and know some things. So, Steve, Power Rangers. You're an actor. You're a martial artist. How did you get this role of Rocky?
Yeah, sure. So it was kind of a fluke thing, I was a martial artist, and I was living in Texas. That's where I grew up. And there was a commercial that came on the radio one day, and it was like, if you guys know how to do martial arts or gymnastics, we're looking for new Power Rangers. Why don't you come down to the local TV station on Saturday and try out? So I was like, oh, I know how to do martial arts and gymnastics. I'll go down and try out. So I go down to where they were holding the auditions, and I get there, and there's like 5,000 people in the parking lot, and I'm like, oh gosh, there's no way. I looked over all those people, and I'm like, there's just too many people here. They're never going to pick me. So I showed them my stuff, and then like 2 days later, they called me back, and they were like, hey, we really liked your audition. We want to fly you to California to meet all the producers. And I was like, wow, okay, well, this could be real. So that's kind of how it happened. They flew me to California. I auditioned later that day. And then, after I did my second audition, like the next day, they said we had to come back for one more tryout. And when I came back on that Wednesday, they were like, well, congratulations, you are the new Power Rangers. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So they were like, yeah, we got to start filming right away, so you can't go back home. So we've got to keep you here. And I was like, I have one change of clothes. And they were like, you have to have your clothes mailed to you. So I had to have my clothes shipped in a hefty bag to California, and I started my whole life over. And then so I was one weekend I was just this karate instructor teaching martial arts to kids and stuff. And then the next day or the next week, I'm on the #1 kids show in the world, and then we start filming. And they're like, we're going to start filming right away. And we're going to film for like 6 weeks so we can get some TV episodes, in the queue. And then we're going to Australia to make a movie. And I was like, wow. I was like, what has happened to my life? So bizarre. Yeah, it was crazy.
Now, let me just ask you the audition process, obviously, because they wanted to check your acting chops. And then, of course, then there's that physical element. 5,000 people there. What exactly were they looking for in that physical element? Like, did they want you doing flips, sparring? What was that like?
So I had no aspirations to be an actor, so I had never done any acting stuff. They solely called me back just off of the martial arts and gymnastics stuff that I knew how to do. I showed them like a routine that I put together specifically for that audition. And that's really all they cared about at that point. They said, we'll put them in front of the camera and we'll teach them how to act. So everything when I got hired on the show was all on-the-job training. I knew nothing about like lighting or camera angles or marks or, sound or any of that stuff. Like all of that was all on-the-job training. And actually, they hired an acting coach for me. The acting coach was Paul Schreier, who was the character that played Bulk. From the Bulk and Skull, the bad guys on the show. Wow. Yeah, they were. So the bad guy, the big guy, he was my acting coach off camera. So funny. Yeah, it was cool. It was fun.
Let me ask you too. Now, obviously, you're a martial arts instructor, so you have a certain way that you knew how to do all this physical stuff. Now here you are on this set. You have these really tight costumes, the helmet. What was the adjustment like to now do these things in that outfit?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely an adjustment. Luckily for us, a lot of the footage was Japanese footage, so the helmeted stuff was already done. They were just, they were always using all the old Japanese footage, so a lot of it we didn't have to do. And they also had an incredible stunt team, Alpha Stunts, that did a lot of that stuff as well with all the helmets on. Because since you couldn't see our faces, we were on a time constraint with the show. So we would be filming, all of the stuff in plain clothes while at the same time they would be filming all the helmeted stuff. And then we would just go in later into the ADR voiceover studio and go and dub our voices to their motions. And so that saved a lot of time. So they could crank out those episodes a lot faster.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I didn't have to do too much with the helmets on. Good. But anytime the helmet was off, that was me.
It was an adjustment then.
Yeah.
Really. So you said, again, you were teaching young people. Now you're on this hit TV series, right? So I'm sure some of your students became, I mean, obviously knowing you, they became instant fans, but what was that like now? Obviously you're a role model as an instructor. Now you're a role model as an actor. How has that changed your life in that regard?
Well, I mean, obviously, I kind of already had this role model sort of mentality because I was teaching all the time. I knew that you had to be and act a certain way and things like that. So I think that part of it for me was a fairly easy transition. The only things that I wasn't like really, that I needed work on was like, well, first of all, some of the acting stuff because I knew nothing about that. And nothing can prepare you for like all of the press tours that we would do, especially when we were promoting the film. That was like incredible, like doing all of the, the press junkets and touring around the country, doing all of that stuff. And then doing like things like the hand and feet in the cement at the Chinese theater ceremony. I mean, just all those kind of things. It was just like nothing can really prepare you for that, so that was whirlwind. And, but it was still, I just, I think because of the martial arts training that I had, I was kind of like prepared for sort of anything they throw at you. And so you learn how to sort of do it gracefully, I guess. But yeah, I had no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously Power Rangers is multi-generational at this point in time.
Thankfully.
As
yeah.
we know.
That's great.
And you, like you said, you're out here now, you're traveling, you're meeting all of these fans. What is it like to, at this point, meet the kids of the kids who grew up, maybe even the grandkids of some of the kids who watch?
Well,
what is that like?
That was the one thing that nobody from our show ever expected. Nobody would have thought that 30 years later, you guys would still be liking the show and, wanting to meet us and, come and do these interactions and stuff. But I think, there was a time, right? And it was probably like around 2007 or whatever. And I think the internet was in full swing at that point, and there were all kinds of Power Ranger forums that were kind of letting us know that there were people out there that were still interested. But then that's when Facebook started happening, and all these other social media platforms started happening, and now these fans have a way to interact with us, and we have a way to interact with them. When we used to meet the fans, as when we were on the heyday of the show, you guys were all little, and if we met you, you were too shy to talk to us. You'd hide behind your mom and like not talk to us and stuff. So there was no way for anybody to articulate like what the show really meant to them and stuff. So, but now, now I get to meet everybody face to face, and they just tell me all these great stories of like, oh, I had a really rough childhood growing up, and sitting there for 30 minutes, every day watching your show was a nice escape, and I just wanted to come tell you what that meant to me, So those kind of stories, to hear those kind of things, or, or they would say something like, hey, you're the reason I became this, or you're the reason you inspired me to want to be a scientist, or you inspired me to want to do this, I just feel like, that's just like a testament to how, because the show was like so campy and things like that. And, you just think back then it's like, oh, it's kind of a joke, but you never really knew the impact that it had on them. And now we get to see that. I mean, that's all manifested now through everybody coming out and doing these events and these Comic Cons and, coming up and getting autographs and doing photos and just, saying all those things that they could never tell us when they were kids, Yeah,
it's really grown into something that's bigger than anybody ever expected it to do.
It's forever part of pop culture now, Yeah. I mean, Power Rangers will always be something that everybody remembers. So That's great. I'm very happy about that.
Absolutely. So we have we have a handful of fans here. So certainly, and you got a hand up already. Perfect. So I know you got some questions. So I'm going to go around if so folks have questions.
Sure.
Steve, we'll knock a few of these out. And I'll come right back.
And we'll do the questions, run through them real quick, I guess. And then if you guys want, you can come back down to my table and you can hang out there if you guys want to ask more questions and stuff. So,
What does Power Rangers mean to you? Like, what does it mean to you? Because to me, it's more of, it's basically everything. Like anyone could be a hero, anyone could be a soldier, anyone could be a Latin.
I gotta say, for me now, it's everything too. You know what I mean? Like, most of my, time now is spent traveling and touring. I tour around and I do all these events and these conventions, and my goal is to try to meet every fan that I can. And I travel all over the world for the past 10 years. I've been to so many countries and all over the United States. I've been everywhere, doing these kinds of events and just getting the chance to meet faces. So it means everything to you. It means everything to me too. I'm just so grateful that all these years later, people still want to connect. So that's great. Good question.
Thank you very much. How about you, sir? What do you got for us?
What's up, Steve?
Hey, what's up?
I met you when this con first started back in 2016.
I was going to say, it's been a while since I've been here. I was like, that's probably been like 7 or 8 years.
I still have your dog tag, Team Rocky, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I used to have, that's right. I forgot about the dog tags. I always have like all kinds of like interesting things, at my table that you can't get any other way. So, custom pieces that I have them at my table as well too. So if anybody wants to come by, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so for the 30th anniversary, Once and Always, when you got the call to come back, like, what was your reaction to it, and what was being on set with almost everybody like?
Yeah, well, I mean, naturally, I was very excited. I wanted to be a part of that 30-year thing. I knew that it was going to be significant. So I was grateful that I got the opportunity to be part of it. And for me, just the way that you guys have nostalgia when you meet us, when we stepped back on those sets, that was nostalgia for us. Because, they had recreated the command center and they recreated the juice bar like exactly. And to step onto that set and it looks exactly the same as it did, 30 years ago. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. So I thought it was very cool. Yeah, I figured. Yeah, it was like if he's not saving the world, he's saving the neighborhood.
Thank you. Here we go, sir.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I was wondering how hard was the morphing sequence to film?
How hard was the morphing sequence? Oh, actually, that was fairly easy. Actually, they filmed it separate, so the morphing sequence is always the same. If you ever watch the show, you'll notice that we are always kind of in the same little like tank top when we do the morphing sequence, even if we might be wearing a different shirt or whatever, because they would just film the morphing sequence one time and then they would just use that same footage for every episode.
This young lady here has a question for you as well.
Okay, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I grew up watching Power Rangers with my cousins. It's how we kind of connected when I was younger. And I wanted to ask, how was it entering the show after it's been running for a while and connecting with everyone?
How has it been connecting with everyone? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Well, like I said, it was something I never expected, but I'm just so grateful, I just, like for me, when I had left the show, when I left Power Rangers, I figured that was it, eventually it would die down and, nobody would ever think about it or talk about it anymore, but who knew, that it was going to continue and grow into this fan base that's, now, like you guys were talking about before, it's like now you guys have kids and you are showing your kids what you grew up on and they love it just as much. And, to see like a 10-year-old kid come up to my table and go, hey, you're Rocky. I watch all your episodes. I'm like, wow, that's great. So it's just an amazing feeling, just so happy that I was able to be part of that.
Are you still close with your castmates?
Yeah, we travel. Last week we were in Atlanta for an event called Ranger Stop, which is a Power Ranger themed Comic Con. It was a Comic Con that's just for Ranger fans, and we have several of those a year that we do. So yeah, we get our castmates. We get together all the time. Yeah, never all of us at the same time at once, but always one or two. I see. At least one or two people every month, from my cast.
On that, let me just ask you: what has been probably the biggest reunion of Power Rangers that you have been to? I'm sure there must have been one.
There's a few. We have one big show that we do every 2 years in LA called Power Morphicon, and that one's like the Super Bowl for Power Ranger fans, and for us too. That one is kind of like one of the biggest ones. And so that's happening in August in California. If you guys get the chance, I would highly recommend checking that one out. It's a big show.
Because at this point now, there's probably about like 75 to 100.
Oh yeah,
iterations.
There's over 100. Yeah, there's over 100 Power
members.
Rangers. If you figure you got 6 times, 25 years of, each year a whole new cast comes through. There's definitely 120 Power Rangers at least.
Absolutely. This one gentleman had something to ask.
Oh. I was just curious. Did you ever get to keep any items from the show?
Yeah, I have some stuff that I was able to keep. I've got like some of the boots from the movie, and I've got a few other things, and then some things that we weren't supposed to keep that I was able to get in my hands. Good question.
That was a great question. You had another quick question, sir? Sorry, let's get this over here.
How's it like?
Whoa, that was
Sorry.
that'll wake you up. Sorry, try again.
How does it like working with the Beast Morphin special? Like, how does it feel like it for you? Like, how does it feel like being a Red Ranger?
Oh, that was great, man. I never got to work with the Beast Morphers cast. I worked with the Ninja Steel cast for the 25-year anniversary. And then for the 30 year, we did our own special. But yeah, I mean, being the Red Ranger was cool. I mean, I feel like because I was the Red Ranger and I was also the Blue Ranger, I still feel like the Red Ranger is the most iconic. I mean, even now, we got a person with the Ninjetti tracksuit on, which is very cool. I love it. So just, you know what I mean? You see people wear that, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, they know.
Great questions. And I know we're like Steve said, we can definitely go on back down there and have like,
I mean,
cool one-on-one
we can always
conversations.
keep the party going for sure. If you guys want to come down to the table, I got all kind of stuff down there. You guys can come check it out. I figured we'd do a shorter panel. It's a small group, but if you guys want to ask more questions and come hang out, we'll have a little party down there.
I have one last question.
Yeah, sure.
And we talked about this about 125 or so Power Ranger cast members. Mm-hmm. You are one of the founding members, right? Yeah. So it is this extremely large brotherhood and sisterhood of folks. This is going to live well past all of you guys. Where do you see the legacy of Power Rangers going, and what do you think the strength is that keeps that fandom, and why do people love the Power Rangers so much?
Well, you know, I mean, just like imagine back when you were like a 5-year-old, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, the TV comes on and there's just like a giant explosion and there's a lightning bolt that shoots through the screen, and then all of a sudden this rock music starts playing, and then there's like a big explosion in bright colors and monsters and aliens and robots and bright colors and karate and, you know, these teens that you feel like you can relate to or look up to a little bit, and, you know, all of these things combined and crammed into like a little 22-minute episode. You know, I could imagine how that would be exciting for any kid, you know. So I feel like that sort of was the catalyst that, you know, started, that got Power Rangers going. But at the end of every story, we always had like some kind of a message about friendship, teamwork, and diversity, and all of these things that, you know, were just not really, you know, shown in kids programming at the time, you know. So I feel like all of those things combined just sort of, you know, is what made it special. And what kept it going again, I think, was just that perfect storm, like I was talking about before, you know, with the advent of internet and chat forums, and then social media, and then Comic-Cons all started taking off around that same time too, so everybody wanted to meet us, and we just kept getting invited to all these events and things, and just so I think it was just a perfectly timed thing that just sort of kept it going, because everybody, you know, there's that whole cyclical thing, like where every 20 years or so, things just kind of come back around again, and Power Rangers was coming back around at that point, and now all of you are old enough that you guys have the ability to come out to events like this and spend money and meet us and get autographs and all that thing. So I think all of those things kept it alive. Plus, you know, with Saban taking back the show from Disney around 2009, and resurging it as well and bringing it back up to its popularity, and then Hasbro taking over and just creating all these new lines of toys of all the old stuff. That's what all of you guys showed that you want. And so just all of those things together were just this perfect mix that sort of kept it alive. And so now I'm hoping, now that the show is finally over and they're not going to make any new seasons, I hope that they do something with it, you know, and to keep it going. I really hope they will.
I'm sure they will. It's a legacy.
Yeah.
It's multi-generational, and it'll be around forever. So, Steve?
Cool. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Come on down to Steve's table.
Yeah. Please, guys, come on downstairs down to the autograph area, and we can keep going if you want.
Round of applause for Steve Cardenas, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Hey there, this is Nolan North, and you are watching Fandom Spotlite. Good for you. Very proud of you. Now go watch more. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom. I like that. I like it a lot.